I've always been a bit of a collector, right from a very early age, before the outside world really had any influence on me at all. I just liked collecting things. It's never really been about money for me. It's very often the case that when collections start becoming money orientated, that it kind of ruins it a bit, which is a bit unfortunate. Everybody wants their collections to be valuable, but at the same time, you don't really want people buying up the items you want to collect and then slapping a huge price tag on them. Bit of a double-edged sword, that one. When I was about 5, between 4 and 6 somewhere anyway, one of my first collections was the nibs of pencils. I'd see all these coloured pencils around and I'd just want one of each different colour. So I'd go around snapping off the nib and having that little bit of coloured lead in the middle there, and go and put that in my collection like a magpie. It wasn't a great collection for everybody else, because every time they'd reach for a pencil it'd have a nib broken off. Quite frustrating for them really. But if I already had that colour, then they were perfectly safe. And I had quite a nice little collection of coloured nibs. But as you can imagine, I got bored of that collection quite quickly. But I never got bored of collecting. I just moved on to a different collection. Like with the DVDs behind me there, I very often like to have the complete collection. I'm a completionist. You know, instead of just watching a good film, I'll try and hunt down everything a certain filmmaker has made and try and watch all of them, and then give my own little personal reviews of them all. Maybe just to myself, maybe publicly. But why do we do this? What is this human trait we have for collecting that some people have and some people don't? The people who don't like collecting things, they often view it as some kind of nerdy sexual replacement thing. People do it because they're not having sex. Which is kind of weird really, because, you know, in the animal kingdom there's lots of examples where the male has to collect things in order to attract a mate. Particularly with birds, funnily enough. There's lots of different varieties of birds that go around collecting bright or colourful things and laying them round in a little nest area and inviting the lady over, and if she likes all the colours and the glitter, then it'd be, oh, good job there. So yeah, no, I think that the whole sexual distraction aspect is a bit of a distraction really. I think what it's replacing is the need to hunt and gather, because we don't hunt and gather anymore, and yet we have this natural instinct to go out and hunt for things. Again, some people will interpret that sexually, of course, but that's a different thing. And hunting for prey involves lots of similar skills you have when you're hunting for objects for your collection. And it shares lots of similar skills, like patience. Being able to go over the same territory again and again, on the off chance that that one particular thing you want has suddenly arrived on the scene. Being able to sit and wait at a specific location for days, weeks on end, waiting for that item to pass through once again. Being prepared for when the prey arrives, for that quick grab, involving speed and accuracy. And then the sense of achievement once you've grabbed your hunt, and the sense of pride when you carry it home. This had a bit of a macabre turn in the Victorian era, where people used to come home with animal heads and then stick them on their walls. A sort of cross between collecting and hunting in its very early stages. But that kind of thing is all a bit too macabre really, especially for me. I'm not really into having dead animals on my walls. And I've got no great interest in going back to going out and hunting small furry animals for my pleasure or stomach satisfaction. But I do take a lot of pleasure in just collecting things. Weirdly enough, preferably lower value things. As for the reasons stated earlier, and because I'm not really interested in having any of my collections nicked because somebody thinks there's something valuable in my house. Or even worse than that, having to pay out hundreds of pounds a year to an insurer because you're paranoid about the theft. And then your collection's just sort of sitting there costing you money instead of being a pleasure. But I've got to like the item as well. And anything you like tends to have a value. So unlike in the old hunting times, once you've done the hunt and gone home and eaten the hunt and all that's done and dusted, you just go out and hunt again. There's no residual hunt remaining that you then collect and pile up and have to worry about other people nicking or having other traders bump up the price of the things you want, you know. So collecting's got a lot of imperfections, but in principle it is a very good way of people replacing their hunter-gatherer instinct. And I recommend collections to all people, really. They might find that this urge that's not being satisfied in other ways is making them subconsciously unhappier than they could be if they just found something interesting to collect and fill that void in their soul, as it were, that human instinct that's not being satisfied, just with something little. And you don't have to be obsessed about it. I mean, you can be, but you don't have to be. Just investigating things to possibly collect what can work just as well. Your investigations into what you could collect could end up being your collection, if that makes sense. It's something we all do subconsciously. Even if you just follow a football team or something, for example, you're essentially collecting the football matches as you go through the season. And the more into it you are, the more matches you try and go to, the more matches you try not to miss. And it's like missing out on a match is quite annoying for your psychology. And it's the same kind of thing, really. Just finding that thing that keeps your interest, really. And it doesn't even have to be an object. You can just collect places to visit. That's something a lot of collectors do. I'm going to visit every single village within a 20-kilometre radius. And that's your collection. You go and hunt them all down, make little reviews of them all, either for public or just private interest. Show me somebody that doesn't collect anything and has a dismissive view of people who collect anything, and I'll probably show you somebody with a big void in their soul.